Greetings and welcome to Patriot 6. I make tutorial videos for scenery building or modifications to scenery in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 utilizing SDK. Different people at different levels of skill see these videos. You may be here because you're curious, or you may already know the basics of scenery building. It is impossible for me to know who will click on a video. Because of the broad range of folks that view the videos, I include the basics in each video. This and all new videos will be built in chapters. You can find the chapters of the video in the description below. In addition, you can see the chapters on the video timeline if you want to skip the basic chapters. To build scenery in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, you must be in developer's mode. And this is a very simple process, and I'll walk through it. First, you go to Options, go to General Options, you go to Developers, On, Apply and Save. Once in developer's mode, you will see a menu appear at the top. I refer to this often as the developer's menu. In addition to being in developer's mode, you must have SDK, and this is a very simple process. You go up to the developer's menu, you find the Help, you tick on Help, and then you tick on SDK Installer Core, and a window will open up and SDK will load in. And from that point, you can decide where you want the SDK. I'm going to tick off of this because I already have it. I put SDK on my C drive and I called the folder MSFS SDK, but you can place SDK where you want to place it. In addition to that, it's always good to go in and get the samples, and from the same help menu you want to go down to samples, and again you will download the samples. I'm going to stop it because I already have the samples. And once you download the samples, you can go into your SDK folder that you built, and you can find samples by ticking on the samples folder. And there's all kinds of samples here, but the one most often used is the one called SimpleScenery. Let's talk about the tools that we need to build scenery. In most projects, it's very simple. The items which you use to build scenery are typically in your scenery library already. There are exceptions though. If you are bringing a 3D model into the sim, that would be an exception. If you are using the Earth to MSFS tool, that is another exception. And on occasion, you may need a text editor. I will explain the reason for the text editor once I do a video where the text editor is needed. For starters, put a folder on your desktop that you will use as your working scenery folder. I have one here and I will show you what I have in it. All I have in it is the SimpleScenery folder I downloaded from SDK, and I do have a thumbnail. In the SimpleScenery folders that you download through this version of SDK, a thumbnail is not mandatory because there is a standard thumbnail within the scenery package. However, on all of my projects, I choose to have a thumbnail. And it's your choice where you want to go with the standard thumbnail in the scenery folder, or if you want your own. If you decide you want to make your own thumbnail, the thumbnail has to be the precise dimensions of this thumbnail I use, 412 by 170 pixels. No other size will work. So if you build your own thumbnail, please keep this rule in mind. Let's talk about the developer camera. The developer camera is something that is vital and something that you will use often. And to get to the developer camera, you go up to the developer menu, tick on camera, and tick on developer camera. Operating the developer camera is a lot like operating the drone camera. So I'll show you the keys that we use to operate the developer camera. If we want to drop, we hit the F key. If we want to rise, we hit the R key. If we want to go left, we use the A key. And if we want to go right, we use the D key. If we want to go forward, we use the W key. And if we want to go in reverse, we use the S key. There's also some numerical keys that you can use. On the number pad, the 4 key will spin you, and the 6 key will spin you in the opposite direction. The 8 key will tilt your camera up, and the 2 key will tilt your camera down. Occasionally when you're building scenery, your azimuth will get off. So that's very easy to correct by using the 7 key or the 9 key. And then you can correct your azimuth. You can also use the mouse and freely move around. By holding down the left Alt key and by using your left mouse button, you're able to move anywhere you want to move. Also, you can use the mouse wheel to zoom in or out. Almost always, this is a process I go through. I'll tick on the developer camera. I will drop to the ground using the F key. Then I will use the left Alt key and the left mouse button to make sure I can spin in small areas. That is the fine control of the camera I'm looking for. What I don't want is this. You see what happened there? As soon as I got in and I used my mouse button to move, look how far I am from my aircraft. So again, to the developer camera, drop down with the F key, and with the left Alt key depressed and the left mouse button, make sure you can make minute movements. And now you're good to go and ready to use the developer camera. Hello friends, in this tutorial I'm going to be building an airport from the ground up, from scratch. I have my tools ready. It takes time to build an airport from the ground up. So I will be making this tutorial in parts so that the videos are not too long. And those of you that want to follow along, you can also build your airport in parts. So this will be part 1, and in part 1 I'm going to select the location, I'm going to start the scenery package, I'm going to prep the area, I'm going to add runways, I'm going to add a ground mesh, and then I'm going to touch up the vegetation. And at that point I will stop, and in the next session, part 2, I'll continue on with the airport. I'm not sure how many tutorials it's going to take to do this. I am going to keep the videos relatively short. We're going to do this in small bites, and we will see how many parts it takes to do this. I have the tools that I need in front of me. I have the working scenery folder that I will be storing the scenery package in. The only thing in the working scenery folder that I need in terms of tools is my custom thumbnail. I have the text editor that I will be using, that I speak of in my short tutorials. I use Notepad++, but you could use whatever text editor you want. And lastly, I have the Bing map. I'm going to be placing my fictitious airport near my home. I live in a suburb of Nashville, Tennessee, called Smyrna. And of course in Nashville we have KBNA, Nashville International. And not too far from my home we have the Smyrna Airport. This is a very nice general aviation airport. We have the Percy Priest Lake, and I actually boat on this lake. I typically hang out right here, but I will tell you the water is not as brown looking as it shows up in this photo. The water looks more like this here. And over to the right we have Nashville Superspeedway. This is a track that hosts NASCAR events. All 3 of the NASCAR series are held here. And when it's race weekend, the drivers will be flown in their nice business jets, and they typically land here at Smyrna Airport. And this past summer, as I was out here boating on race weekend, I watched the drivers' planes come in and land here at 19 at Smyrna. So what I'm going to do, since the drivers are rich, have their own planes, and time is of the essence, I'm going to build my fictitious airport right here near the speedway and give the drivers easier access to the speedway. I'm going to be using this ground here. I'm going to be relocating people. Sorry about that. But since it is fictitious, we can do what we want, right? So the first thing I need to do, I have selected the location. I'm going to my Bing map and go roughly the center of the location. Right click and copy the coordinates. I have pasted the coordinates into the text editor. And for now we're through with the map. Now back to Microsoft Flight Simulator. Of course we want to go into developers mode. As I have said many times on videos and in the small tutorial series on all my videos, we want to go to Options, General Options, Developers, On, Apply and Save. Earlier in my scenery building, I added a point of interest for Nashville Superspeedway. I will be able to put my Velocicopter here, so it's away from me and I don't have to listen to it as I work on the ground here. I'm going up to the developer menu. I'm going to tick on Options and pause the simulation. And now I'm ready to fly. I'm going back up to the developers menu to Camera. Tick on the developer camera. I'm going to drop to the ground and make sure I have control of the camera. And now I'm going over to the area in which I'm going to build my airport. And now that I'm in the area and where I'm going to build the airport, I'm going to start the package. I'm going to start by going up to the developer menu, tick on Tools, Project Editor. And the project editor is up along with the inspector. If your inspector doesn't come up, you can hit View and tick on Inspector. I'm going to Project, and this is going to be a new project. So I'm going to tick on New Project. I'm going to make sure the project is saving in the correct folder. And it is saving into the working scenery folder, and that's what I want. And I'm going to give the project a name, and I've selected a personal ICAO for this airport, so I'm going to type that in as a project name. Kilo November Sierra Sierra. And now I'm going to create the project. And the wizard comes up and I want to select airport. And the display title of my fictitious airport is going to be Nashville Superspeedway Municipal. And now I'm going to tick next. And we have options here. Override an existing airport. That would be the option I would select if I'm going to redo a current airport, but I am actually selecting option 2, which is to create an airport anywhere. And I'm going to tick on Generate ICAO. And in this box, I'm going to enter the ICAO that I have decided on. And now I have Kilo November Sierra Sierra entered. And here I'm going to place the airport name. Now this part here is very important. If you don't put in the correct latitude and longitude, your airport will be built at these coordinates, which is somewhere out in the middle of the Indian Ocean. So from the coordinates in my text editor, I'm going to copy and paste the latitude. And now I will do the same with the longitude. I'm not exactly certain if the altitude is all that important, but in the event that it is, I do have the altitude of this area. I looked it up. It is 740 feet above mean sea level. Now with that information in there, I'm ready to create the airport. And you will notice that the inspector is now populated, and I actually have a package here. And I actually have the scenery folder here with the name. The name is already in the title. My creator name is already in here because I've set it as a default down here in the project editor. If it were not in here, then I would type in my creator name here. So most likely you'll have to select a creator name and place it here. I'm going to tick on the thumbnail and navigate to my thumbnail in the working scenery folder. And now I'm going to build the package. And of course the dialog box will pop up saying modifications detected. We want to tick yes. Okay, the package is built and you can see the console. I can go up to the window and tick off the console, or I can go over here and tick on the X. Either one will work to remove the console. And now on the project editor, I'm going to tick on the project and open it up. And I'm going down to Scenery BGL, tick on it. Up in the inspector, I'm going to load in editor. And when I do that, the scenery editor pops up along with the objects window and the gizmo. If you've not built scenery before, you may have something different. You can always go to the tools menu and pull up what you need. The material editor is up, it's on another screen, and I'm going to be using the material editor today. Also from the view window, you can bring up the gizmo, which I will need, and you can bring up the objects window. Okay, my scenery library has loaded in. So on the objects window, I want to go to Runway. And the first runway I'm going to add is at 32 degrees. So I'll move down and find 32. And once I've selected 32, I'm going to tick Add. Now I'm going down to the Scenery Editor, tick View and Properties. The display name, I'm simply going to put 32-14. I'm going to Configuration. And in the configuration, I'm going to select the length of my runway, which I've already predetermined. I want 32 to be 5,543 feet, which happens to be 1,690 meters. So down in length, I'm going to place 1,690. The width is 50 meters. That's more than 150 feet, so I'm good with that. I'm going to tick a few more of these options. I don't want to change anything here because this runway does not have a left, right, or center designator, so that's not needed. So now I'm going to Materials. I'm okay with the asphalt, so I don't need to change anything there. I'm going to Markings. I'm really going to do this big, so I'm going to select almost everything. Edge markings, threshold markings. Apparently there's differences if you're in Europe. but I'm not in Europe. Fixed distance markings, different in Europe. Touchdown markings, also different in Europe. Center dash line, sure. Number and designator at the end, of course. Also different in Europe. Precision markings, yeah, let's do that. Also different in Europe. Extra pavement, sure. I'm not ticking this here, only usable from primary end. No, I don't want that. I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this, and I don't want that. Go to lights. Sure. Let's have high center lights and high edge lights. Let's make the center round, why not? I'm not going to change pavements. And at this point, I'm not going to change the approach lights, the VASI or ILS. I will be able to make changes that I want later on. I'm going to pause here and reposition the runway where I want it to be. And to be safe, every now and then, I'm going to go down to the scenery editor and save the scenery. This seems to be like a usable location because I'm going to maintain this road and I have plenty of space from the road. So now I'm going to add the second runway, which will be 19. Select 19 and add. And I put in the display name 19-01 and now to the configuration. This runway is going to be 4,000 feet, which is 1,219.51 meters. Okay. I'm fine with the width. I'm going to leave the materials alone. I'm okay with the asphalt again. And I'm going to select the same options for markings that I did earlier. And for lights, I'm going to do the same thing. High on the center and high on the edge. I will leave pavements alone. Okay. I am going to adjust the runway starts on this runway, and then I'm going back and adjust the runway starts on the other runway too. The start locations are the little green arrows, and we certainly don't want to start here in the center of the runway. So we want to edit the start locations. So I'll tick on runway start, and I'll edit the primary position. That looks like a good start position to me. It's centered and where you would want it. And now to edit the secondary start position, I need to untick the primary. And now I'm going to tick edit the second start position. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the first runway that I built. And again, it doesn't hurt to save the scenery every so often. In the event something goes wrong, every time I save it is what I will have to work with when I come back. So there's a couple things I can do. I can simply tick on the runway, or I can go over to the scenery editor and tick on the runway here. Either way, we'll select it. And I want to go back to the properties and runway start. The primary, I'm going to tick on edit position. That looks pretty good. I'm going to untick the primary start. And I'm going to tick on the secondary start. Edit position. And that looks pretty good. So again, I will save. Now I'm going to do some cleanup here. I think I can leave the houses on this side of the road, except for here. I want to get rid of the buildings that are on this side of the road and near the airport, and I will do that with an exclusion polygon. If you don't know how to use exclusion polygons, I will place a link to a video that shows how to use exclusion polygons in the description of this video. On the objects window, I want to go to polygon. Whoops, wrong one. Polygon. I'm going to tick add. With my left control key held down the entire time, I will use my left mouse button to draw the polygon. And it takes a left mouse tick for every anchor point. I still have the properties window up, so I want to tick on buildings, exclude all. And while I'm there, I want to go ahead and tick on vegetation and turn the top two vegetation sliders down to get rid of the trees. I'm going to do the same here and get rid of trees. Vegetation, remove. I'm going to remove the vegetation and the buildings from here. Buildings, exclude all, and vegetation, slide down. And yet another. I'm making sure that I see all of the buildings and get them all included. Exclude all. Vegetation, same story. I see a little patch of trees I need to get rid of. Now let me take a look and see if I overlooked anything. Okay, everything seems to be just a picture on the map. There's buildings there, so let's get rid of those. Buildings, exclude all. And here's a few more trees I need to get rid of. Vegetation, slide down. I think I have everything. If I overlook something, I can catch it later. I save the scenery again. So what we have now is the area cleared out with two-dimensional pictures on the ground. So I want to apply my own mesh. And this is a little bit tedious because I'm going to have to go around the runways and around whatever roads I want to maintain. And I will do that also with a polygon, but it's going to take multiple polygons. So I will speed the video up as I make the polygons because I have to be more precise. And now with the first polygon complete, I'm going to introduce my materials. So with the polygon selected on the objects menu or on the screen, I'm going back to view and properties. And now I'm going to use a material. I'm going down to a Sobo ground and I'm going to select this grass Musa. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but I'm going to select it anyway. And I'm going to drag this over to the material right here. And with the material entered, I'm going to change the color. I want this to blend in as best I can with the surrounding area. And obviously right now it doesn't blend in. So I'm going down here on the properties window, on the coloration, and I'm going to change the colors, which I have tested this and know roughly what I need to make this fit in. So I'm going to move the red to 96. I'm going to move the green to 107. And I'm going to take the blue to 76. So to my eyes, that's a fairly good match of the greener colors around here. However, the tiling that you see here makes it look extremely fake. And every time that I've used a grass material, I have not been satisfied with it because of the tiling, but I did learn I can change the tiling here on the properties window, and it seems to make it a little realistic. So I'm going to raise the tiling all the way up to 689. To me, that looks better than what I had. It looks fairly realistic, so I'm going to go with this. As you can tell, I have a lot of areas yet to do, so I'm going to zip through these real quick with the polygons. And before I cover up this area here, I need to place a marker at this location. I plan on setting a building here because, as you can see, road traffic uses this road, and I don't want the road traffic to be driving out in the middle of grass. So I'm going to have to utilize this road. Set some sort of hanger or something here. I'm going to set an object that I will remove later. This is just going to serve as a marker for me to know where to go. So I'll go back up to scenery. I'm going to select all, and I'm going to just place a light mast here where I can see it later. And I'm going to make it gigantic so it'll be easy to be seen. And now I'm going to continue filling in the grass. So back to polygon. You can edit the corners of a polygon, so I'm going to do that now and bring this polygon over this way more. Tick on the corner and move it. And now I'll find this corner and move it. One more area to go. So now with the mesh in place, looks pretty good. Some areas where we have straight lines. The straight lines don't look very natural. Any place I see a straight line, I'm going to create a polygon and add some trees. The trees will cover up the distinct line in places where I need it. And it's the opposite situation of removing vegetation. I want to tick on vegetation, and I want to slide the trees up this time. That kind of hides that line. I'll look for any more. I think there's one here. And this is just a little cleanup I'm doing. And we'll look for any more unnatural edges. I think I have it covered. Now, it doesn't hurt to add a few trees in some areas where the trees are on the road. You can see them. These are trees that are shading the road that were taken in the original satellite imagery. To make it look better, I'm going to add just a small patch of trees here. It doesn't hurt to have some trees along the road. I mean, after all, we need trees on the side of the road, so if we lose control of the car, that we will bash into them. That's what nature does to us. We still have the golf course here I don't want to mess with. You get in big trouble messing with golfers. So let's save once again. And I'm going to go ahead and build the package. Temporarily put the package in the community folder and see what it looks like if we load into the sim. So save with the scenery BGL ticked. And now once it's saved, I want to go back up and tick on the Patriot 6 airport. See the information in the inspector and build the package. Okay, the package is built. I'm going to tick the console off. I'm going to remove the tools. And now I'm going to move the package into the community folder. Here is the community folder. And here is the working scenery folder. So I will open the scenery folder, KNSS, go to packages. I want to copy this package. And I want to paste it into my community folder. And now I want to restart the simulator. Okay, back in the simulator, we want to test our airport. and I typed in KNSS, and what do you know, there's Nashville Superspeedway Municipal. So let's zoom to details. And hey, we have a start at runway 32, a start at 14, a start at 19, and a start at 1. So we will start at runway 32. So I'm going to jump into the developer camera and take a look around. What camera did I jump in? Well, I'm in the developer camera. It seems slow. That looks pretty good. The houses are gone. I have the ground in which I can put my buildings. The trees look fairly natural, so I'm good with that. I have plenty of space to approach the runways. I have the light mast here to help me find the location to put my building because, like I said, that road is in use. So I'm satisfied with that. There is a section here that was shaded by the trees. Of course, I don't want trees in front of the runway. And maybe later in another part, I will do something with this, and I may not. So let's turn the lights down and see what it looks like at night. Has some ancillary Asobo lighting here. Most likely it was street lights. I'm going to have to live with that. Perhaps I can figure out something to do with it, but most likely I'm going to have to live with that lighting. You can see Nashville Superspeedway lit up because that's in one of my lighting packages that I built at a previous time. I actually put lights around here. Actually all of Nashville, to be honest. So I think we have a good start. I will continue the series with adding hangars, concrete, taxiways, but when it's all said and done, we'll have a good usable airport. But I will stop part 1 right here, and I thank you for watching Patriot 6, and I hope you will tune in for the remainder of this series. But for now, I'll say goodbye, and I'll see you in the next part.